Guys, welcome back to my channel, Simone and SRNA, and I am back with another video. In today's video, as you can see by the title, we're going to be discussing oral boards. What is it and what's it all about? So if you're interested, then please keep on watching. New here, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you click the bell notification, that way you're notified every time I upload. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. So what is oral board? So oral boards is an oral board. So basically you are amongst a panel of your faculty and they ask you multiple drug questions regarding the drugs that you have learned. So any drug that you've already covered, you'll have mental math, you'll have to define either pharmacokinetics or pharmacodynamics. They'll ask you dosages, contraindications, side effects, the more commonly side effects of the medications. And as we move along towards our semester or into our semesters, it would be more application. So it would be like, what is a drug, and you'll apply it to a clinical situation, and you would just, you know, state like which drug that you would use and why, etc., etc. This is our second semester. In our first oral boards, all we had to do is really just define pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics, and they quizzed us on one drug or one or two drugs, and we just had to talk about it. By the time oral boards came around, we had already discussed inhalation agents, all of our induction drugs, and we had just had a lecture on opioids. So originally oral boards was just going to be induction and inhalation. However, everything got switched, our schedule got switched to allow us to have a free day, which would be next week, and opioids actually got moved into our oral boards. So we had to know pretty much everything about every single drug, down to the side effects, all the dosages, the onset, duration, mechanism of action, all of that. And we didn't know what drug we would be quizzed on during our oral board, so we had to just know everything. And that's pretty much the gist of it. As you move on throughout the semesters, we'll add in our local anesthetics, non-depolarizing muscle relaxants, our muscle relaxants, and our cardiovascular drugs. But I believe it's next semester where if we don't pass oral boards, it's either next semester or summer. If we don't pass oral boards, then we fail the class. So it's imperative that we do pass our boards. One, just safety. If you did or did not know, in the OR you don't have like a Pyxis, you don't have like any safety mechanisms that would catch like any errors. It's really us. We are the ones that catches any medication that's either misplaced in the wrong bin. We have to make sure that everything is weight-based per the patient. So, you know, make sure our calculations, our mental math is sharp, and make sure this is the right dose for every patient. So we are the last safety mechanism before we give any drug to any of our patients. So it's really important that we make sure that, you know, we review the drugs, we know what we're gonna give. We need to know, you know, if this drug is correct for this patient based on like their comorbidities, what drugs they are currently on or medications they're currently on, and things of that nature. So that's something that is really important when it comes to, you know, the anesthesia and everything like that. It's just making sure that we are giving the drug to the appropriate patient and we've taken everything into consideration. So oral boards was okay for me. The issue with oral boards for me is they had added opioids at the very last second, and opioids was a pretty extensive lecture, but it was so many different how can I put this? There were so many different conflicting information when it came to like what Nagelhout said, what my professor said, what the book said. So it was a lot of back and forth, clarifying information and things of that. So that took a lot of time, and because of that, I really felt like I couldn't spend a lot of time. And it wasn't just me, a lot of my class felt this way. When I tell you I knew all the inhalation agents, all the induction agents, front and back, like I knew those completely. The weakest point that I just wasn't sure about, and I really felt like, because I just didn't have a lot of time, and I think when oral boards was coming around, we had an exam, we had something due, I can't remember what, so I didn't really get a chance to really like give it my all. But that's an error on my fault, anything like that. I just wish I had a little bit more time to really comb through the material. Now that I had just taken my exam yesterday, I spent a lot of time going through opioids, and I wish I would have, that time that I spent going through opioids for my exam, I would have did a lot better on my oral boards. And I passed, but it was just like I wasn't expecting mental math. I wasn't expecting them to ask different things that we hadn't really discussed, and we didn't discuss in detail, or I didn't get a chance to like look at in detail. I believe oral boards is probably about 5 to 10 minutes each per person. So the way that I studied for oral boards, I felt like it was a lot easier for me to study for IAs and induction because, one, I feel like Nagelhout explained things very well. So I watched Nagelhout's lecture a lot. I watched it twice for both inhalation and induction agents. And then we had just recently went over IAs and induction. So for me, it was more about going through the PowerPoints, and I wrote a lot of stuff down. I really tried to make sure I committed a lot of stuff into memory. This was like the one thing I would say that was different when it came to how I studied, was the way I studied for oral boards. So I wrote a lot of stuff down. I would just ask myself questions, and I would have a blank sheet of paper, and I would say, okay, so what is the MAC, the oil gas coefficient, the blood gas coefficient, and I would write them down. For all of the IAs, all the information, I would take neuro, respiratory, cardiac, and I would say, okay, so what is it that all the IAs, inhalation agents, do to affect each part of the body, because they do something different. So I wrote all of that down, and then I looked and I was like, okay, so what are their side effects? What does this inhalation drug do versus this one? Like DES and ISO, it's a respiratory irritant, so they produce coughing. DES produces tachycardia as opposed to like SIVO. They all like decrease blood pressure, decrease heart rate. DES doesn't, because it produces tachycardia due to the respiratory irritant factor. And then nitrous is its own page in itself. It's still an inhalation agent, but the factors of nitrous affect differently. So like with neuro, the side effects of nitrous, you know, they have expansion of closed gas air spaces, things of that. And so I just wrote all of that down to commit into memory what I had already felt comfortable with. And then I would go through the workbook, I would go through the slides, and I would be like, oh, I forgot this, you know, like halothane synthesizes the myocardium, and I wrote that down so like I can remember for next time. As far as like remembering doses, when it came to the induction agents, etomidate, ketamine, propofol, dexmedetomidate, what I did was I wrote that down too. So I don't have my iPad here, but I'll probably like put it here on this screen so you can see what I did. So I color coded everything. I would write the name of the drug. I would write what receptor it worked on. I would write the protein bound, the onset, the duration, the dose, the IV dose for induction. And then I would do the same thing I did with IAs. So what I did was I did neuro, respiratory, cardiovascular, and I would write down how does this agent affect the heart. And this is how I did it. And then what I did was I did the side effects. So what are the side effects? What are the contraindications? So like with etomidate, you can't use it for patients that have porphyria. So that was one. It causes adrenal renal suppression, so you don't want to give it to septic patients. That was something. So I would write that down, and like I said, they were color coded it, so in my mind I can kind of take some type of like photographic memory and kind of remember like, okay, I remember like seeing this in my head, and that's how I did it. And I just did it over and over again. I was going to make flashcards. I felt like that was going to take too much time, in my opinion, and I just felt like it was gonna take too much time. For all the opioids, I found that part challenging because of the fact that I had to, you know, there was different this book would say one onset or one dose, another book would say a different dose, a different onset, a different duration. So there was back and forth, and that was kind of hard to keep up with, because I'm like, well, then what is the correct information? So what I ended up doing was just finding like the middle ground. Okay, so this is the middle ground. I use Apex a lot, which is helping me remember certain things about the drugs. That was like an amazing thing for me to use. I just really kept that going. Honestly, the only thing I would change is I wish I would have spent more time on the opioids, because I ended up getting the opioids and I had like this inkling of a feeling that I was gonna get it, and I did get it. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's a learning experience, and I get that. So I just know what I need to do better next time. And I just know if I would have, A, if I would have gotten anything else, I would have killed it. And then B, if I would have spent more time on opioids, I would have did much better. It's just all about, you know, I just felt like I didn't really prepare enough as I should, and I just didn't really feel like I had a lot of time to prepare. As far as what I want to do, you know, for next time, is I do already have like flashcards already made for like the opioids, like dosages and stuff. When it comes to like the protein bound and all of that, the onset, duration, what receptor they worked on, I already have flashcards. I've already made them, especially since I just had this exam. So it's just something that I'm just gonna continuously keep reviewing and just get better at. And then when it comes time for like next semester, next oral boards, I really have like a ton of stuff that I plan on doing during this like break. So this 5-week break, I have a ton of stuff that I have planned that I want to do to just be better prepared for next semester, you know, once I pass the semester. But that is basically my experience with oral boards. I try to do it for them to simulate the clinical setting as close as possible, because, you know, we will get put on the spot by CRNAs about like, well, what dose would you be giving, what receptors does it work on, just random questions as we're doing, you know, whatever it is that we're doing in the OR. So they want us to be prepared, just preparing you for the clinical setting to just be a better and safe CRNA. So that is, you know, my experience with oral boards and the explanation of what oral boards is and what it entails. So hopefully you learned a little bit of something. So if you have any questions or want any more information, then please comment down below and let me know what you're interested in seeing next. I don't know what videos I have coming up this month. I really am just playing it by ear. I don't really know what videos I have planned to film. However, December, I do want, you know, more videos. I will do like another reflection on this semester. I do also want to give like an updated like mommy routine, how I study with like having a baby, because she's a lot more active than my last video that I filmed. So I will be also filming a video regarding that. And yeah, so I do kind of want to do some more lifestyle videos as well. So maybe like a morning routine, maybe like a get ready with me in the morning. So if you're interested, then please give this video a big thumbs up. And yeah, I will talk to you in my next video, and I will talk to you soon.